Hello, YouTube! You might be wondering why I have this universal backup camera here on the screen. It is a, car dual universal backup camera, works with receivers, featuring RCA camera inputs. Great for cars, SUV vans, and trucks. Compatible with most aftermarket AV receivers. I hope it's also good for RVs. It looks like it's got a little mounting bracket thing and it can swivel. And the fact is it works with RCA camera inputs, or rather outputs. No, inputs, because it's going to be outputting. It says it's a full color camera. Features a universal mount to install on a license plate or bumper. Low profile surface mount design. 170 degrees wide angle lens view. Standard RCA connection, low light performance at 0.5 lux. It is waterproof, the camera only. 2-wire connection with 12 volt connection required. 2-wire power connection. So it needs 12 volts. I'll have to patch it into a 12 volt line. Installation is, it's only 19.6 feet, which may actually be a little bit too short, quite a bit too short. CMOS image sensor and backup parking guides. You can turn that on and off. Yeah. Now, you know I'm in a minivan, and it is kind of hard to see out the minivan, and this would certainly help. But the reason I picked this up here at this Titusville Walmart, yeah, this is the same Walmart we were at when we were working at the Kennedy Space Center, is because I am on my way to Orlando, of all places. And you might be wondering, hey, Denoy, what the heck are you doing heading out to Orlando? Well, it turns out that even the GoFundMe has not raised much more than about $1,000 total, maybe slightly over $1,000, just a little bit over $1,000. That's gonna not be enough to get another van that's in much better shape than Little Blue 2, or anything really. So I'm still holding it as reserve, you know, to try to build up enough capital to actually buy something. But I've been scanning and looking and hoping and praying, and sure enough, I actually found an RV. Now, the RV is in Orlando. The guy wanted $2,000 for it. It's a 1994 Four Winds, and he says it's 30 foot. So it is rather large, much larger than what I really wanted, and makes me a little bit nervous because it's so large. It's like the size of a school bus almost. 30 foot long RV. And it's a Four Winds Class C camper. And you're like, well, how can you afford that with only $1,000 or so that was raised? Truthfully, you can't. $1,000 wouldn't even buy a vehicle as good as Little Blue 2 right now, you know, running with working AC and everything in Florida. So I contacted the guy. He wanted $2,000 for it because he had it all ripped apart. Supposedly it had a leak, and he ripped apart the ceiling and the wall to fix the leak and has sealed it. And he ripped off the walls, you know, on the interior walls, but he hasn't been able to do anything else to it. And the vehicle's been sitting for like 3 years. So it's house cleaning time. He's decided to get rid of it. So he wanted $2,000 for it. I contacted him to see if he might be willing to do $1,200, because I was able to scrounge up a little bit of money from myself, you know, from my savings, my reserve fund, what little I had left, because I'm typically living day to day on whatever I earn, after paying child support, food, gas, and everything else. I'm not really left with much. But I was able to scrounge together a total of $1,200, thanks mainly to the viewers who have contributed to the GoFundMe and the PayPal funds. So you may actually have achieved somewhat your goal of getting me into a new home. So I am on my way out right now to Orlando to take a look and, see if this is something that I can work with. Now, it is much larger than what I would have wanted, but thinking about it, I'm like, maybe this is what I need, at least for now. Because I'm not really planning on traveling yet because of the situation with my kids and everything else going on this end. But I do need a place to live. And rent around here, rental is nuts. It's to try to rent a room. I could possibly try to rent a room, but it'd be about $600, between $500 to $600, even $800 for a room for one person. And that's just a room, which means you're in somebody's house in a little room, which is okay if you're a single person. But if you have children visiting and your wife, it could become a potential problem because you got roommate issues. And a lot of you who have ever had roommates, you know what I'm talking about. All these little weird things that can happen with roommate situations. So not only that, it would be about $500 a month, maybe $600 a month that you have to pay every day, just so that you would have a place to call home temporarily. So you're paying for somebody else's mortgage or somebody else's assets. And I don't know if right now I don't have $500 a month every month to spare. I don't even have $500 a month. I'm nowhere near $500 a month extra after I pay child support from my YouTube earnings. So luckily for me, several things have happened all at once that is making this situation possible. The first is the state of Florida has decided that my daughter is indeed an adult at 18, and I no longer have to make child support payments for her, which is very good, because now I just have one child to pay for instead of two. The second thing that happened, which I was counting on happening, which always happens every year, but may stop from now on, is that I fell behind. I was in arrears on child support payments. And how you fall behind is, well, you've seen my situation. If you followed for the past 3 years, and you see exactly what happens. I lose a job, or the car has an emergency, or some other weird situation. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, as soon as something out of the norm happens, you're behind. And as soon as you fall behind, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. You go into what's called arrears with the state, and they began to try to suspend your driver's license so you can't work anymore. They say that's to motivate you to make the payments, but no, it's designed to make it so you can't work anymore. Or if you choose to drive and go to work and you get pulled over, now you got to pay fines and go to jail. So that's what I think the true purpose of it is, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, I fall into arrears, and then I have to deal with the courts, which you've seen probably about 3 or 4 times since the vlog started 3 years ago, although this, in truth, has been going on now for about 9 or 10 years. I keep having to redo it over and over and over, because anytime I fall into arrears, they start the process. Once they say, well, he's 3 months behind, that's not just falling behind, it's 3 months that you're behind on payments because you can't catch up. Just because you can't pay it, it doesn't mean they stop it. It keeps increasing every month. So anyhow, at the end of each year, they take my tax return, they garnish it for student loans and for child support payments. So I never see a penny of it. And then what happens is that tax return at the end of the year generally pays off the arrears. And it resets me back to 0 on arrears. And I buy myself another year of fighting to keep my license, essentially. Now, that was occurring when I didn't have a monetized YouTube channel, or the monetization wasn't at the point where it is now, 3 years later. 3 years later, YouTube is actually starting to look like it might be a viable career for me. I know it's not even paying anywhere near minimum wage. I'm making less than minimum wage right now off YouTube, but it's paying enough right now to cover child support for one child. And the significance of that is this: it means that I can pay child support as long as I can keep the YouTube going. And what that means is they won't try to suspend my license. So I will no longer have to keep devoting time and energy in court dates, losing money by heading out to court and not working or something to deal with the situation. And that kind of frees me to be a little bit more creative and to think and recover and actually try to rebuild my situation. Because any additional monies I earn, like from a job, a temp job, or any other jobs that I get, becomes icing on the cake, an ability to start saving money, which is what you normally do. You want to save at least 3 to 6 months reserve, living expenses reserve, in case you have an emergency. I know a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck don't even have that ability to do that, and I'm one of those people. I'm, borderline paycheck to paycheck. But with the fact that YouTube, as long as nothing catastrophic happens with the channel, is earning enough to cover child support and a little bit extra for living expenses like gasoline, insurance, for the vehicle and stuff, and food, I can almost fully live off YouTube. I know some of you are like, how can you live? Well, you've seen how I live. I eat noodles, I eat really cheap stuff. And pretty much anything that I eat and I film and stuff, it actually earns money back. Now, it doesn't earn like thousands or hundreds of dollars, although occasionally I get a couple of videos that make $100 or more. Most of my videos average in the pennies, or upwards of $20 a year or less. So I might earn a whopping $20 for this particular video. It doesn't seem like a lot, and indeed it isn't a lot. But when you consider that I have nearly 1,800 videos, I got 1,700 or so online right now, it adds up. A couple pennies here, a couple pennies there, $1 here, $10 there. It adds up, especially when I have really loyal and awesome viewers like you who understand the situation and have been watching the videos and the ads that interest them, letting them run and maybe interacting if they are of particular interest to you. I say this because you don't want to just watch ads for no reason unless you're trying to help me out here and they're interested in the ads. And you don't want to click on them unless they do pertain to you and you're interested in it, because that keeps the system valid. Otherwise, YouTube will have an issue. So make sure you're only clicking and interacting with the ads if they are interesting to you. If you do let the ads run at least 30 seconds, I generally get paid for them. Some of the ads I've heard have been like ridiculously long. I heard one time they had like a 30-minute dog food commercial. I guess this channel is notorious for dogs watching. So to my dog viewers, for those of you who don't understand dog talk, I was thanking the dogs out there for their loyalty and for watching this channel and the ads. Anyhow, it put me to this situation right now where for the first time in 10 years, I can kind of breathe a little bit easier. And the reason for that is as long as I can maintain YouTube and keep the channel up and keep it going and try to increase it, I'm only moving in a positive direction. And unless I do something really bad or crazy, this is a job that I actually can control. I can increase my earnings by doing more videos or potentially expanding and doing additional channels. If I can get them monetized, then it's another stream of income. Now, we don't know how long YouTube is going to last, so it's important to capitalize on it while YouTube still exists in its present form and is allowing pretty much anyone to try their hand at becoming an actor, is what YouTube calls the YouTubers, to produce content that is compelling enough for people to watch and for the advertisers to be willing to place their product on there. So, what does it mean? Well, it means I can breathe. It also means that I can continue my development with the software, learning and stuff like that, to potentially try to get a real good job if I choose that route, or just continue the job, not the job, but the classes and stuff, and learn those skills and then apply it to my own development efforts, because at one time I was a software developer, a working software developer for a company as well as for myself. I haven't really developed anything and released it in a very long time because of all the crazy stuff that's been going on in my life with the divorce and everything else. But now, YouTube is potentially offering me that capability. And what's about to happen today? Of course, this is assuming the deal goes through and I end up buying the RV. And it is a large one. I don't know, 30 foot to me is large, although I know they make them larger than that. The guy said it was 30 foot long. I looked at the pictures and it looked pretty large. So it makes me a little bit nervous, but it is a Class C 4 Winds RV that supposedly runs well, runs and drives. And that's all I know about it right now. Other than that, the interior is all ripped apart because he was going to, he was fixing the leak and then he's renovating it, but he stopped. So I'm going to have to try to finish that up. But if I can pick up this RV for $1,200, which most of it, about $1,000 of it was direct contributions from viewers. So thank you, kind viewers and patrons. You are an incredible group of people. I don't know how else to say it other than that I am very, very deeply touched to have all of you here care enough about me to basically send me your hard-earned cash to try to get me out of this situation. I wish everyone had viewers like you. I wish they had friends like you, because it makes it easier to deal with life, because no matter how hard life kicks you, you got people who have your back. So I appreciate all of you who have been doing that, have been sending in the money to help me, even the $5, $10 or whatever. It is going towards getting me a new home. And for those of you who don't have the money and have been watching the ads and stuff, you are not forgotten. You are my mainstream for helping me turn YouTube into a job that could become a permanent job that can get me out of my situation and also help other people. Because if anyone's been watching this channel from the very beginning, you can see how we started with pretty much nothing but the clothes on our back, $3 in our pocket, and a YouTube channel that was just starting to get monetized. At the time when we had started the channel, YouTube was earning about $20 to $25 a month. That obviously is not enough to live on. It's not even enough for gasoline. So we've grown from then to now, where we're making roughly anywhere from $350 to about $600 a month. Yeah, that's how much this channel is cranking in. It's obviously not enough for full-time living, especially since I have to pay child support and insurance and everything else. But it's breathing room, because when I get my additional jobs, that's money that I can use to pay for other things, like vehicle repairs, which, happens if you live in a van or a car or even an RV. And the issue with RVs is, from what I understand, they are pretty much money pits. Always something wrong, even worse than cars, because essentially you have a car, the mechanical parts of it, which are car or truck or van related. Then you have the complicated RV systems, like the roof leaking, windows leaking, propane systems, electrical wiring systems, heater systems. Basically a house. So you're paying both. Now, this will be my first time really, really trying to live in an RV. At one time when I was married, I did buy a Class C RV. It was I think a 1989. I don't know if it was 89 or 99. A 99 or 89? I think it was an 89. I think it was a 1989, or maybe it was 79. I don't know. It was a Leprechaun RV that I bought for $2,500, and it was intact and ran, and just needed a slight little cosmetic, makeover. But I ended up, maybe I'll tell you that for another story time or something about what happened with that RV, and I'll even show you pictures. It was pretty nice. I never got to live in it, even though I had it ready for the divorce. I got it right before the divorce. But at the time, I didn't know anything about stealth parking and stealth camping, so did not keep it. And I ended up pretty much giving it away to somebody else. But now, I do have a plan. Because, we're still going to have the same issue with parking. And I kind of figured it out after dealing with pretty much being homeless and living in a van or vehicle for the past, 9 years, essentially. Mainly, I would say full-time, mostly about 6 years with. But I've learned quite a bit. So we're going to talk about that in the next video, because this one's going on and on and on, and I'm going to wrap it up for now. So stay tuned for part 2 of this video.